All right, today we're going to deconstruct what is, without a doubt, the most essential blueprint on Earth, DNA. We're about to take a journey from the massive library of instructions tucked inside every one of your cells, all the way down to the 4 simple letters that write the entire story of life itself. Let's dive in. Okay, I know what you're thinking. It sounds like the start of a pretty weird joke, right? But the answer is actually incredibly profound. It's the one thing that connects you, me, and every single living thing on this planet. And the answer is, of course, DNA, or for the science buffs, deoxyribonucleic acid. The easiest way to think about it is as the ultimate instruction manual. It is the master blueprint that holds all the information needed to build and run literally everything that's alive. So, what does this amazing instruction manual actually do? Well, it really has 2 absolutely critical jobs. First, it has to be a master copy machine, right? It's got to make perfect copies of itself for new cells. And second, it holds the specific recipes, we call those genes, for building proteins. And proteins are the tiny machines that do pretty much all the heavy lifting in our bodies. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the 2 major ways life stores its blueprint. Then, we'll dig into how cells solve an incredible packaging problem. And finally, we'll zoom all the way in to decode the beautiful double helix itself. So here's a fascinating thing. While all life uses DNA, it doesn't store it in the same way. There are actually 2 fundamentally different designs for how life organizes its blueprint at the cellular level. First up, you've got the prokaryotes. Think bacteria. This is like the minimalist's approach to life, you know? Their main blueprint is just a single circular chromosome that, well, it just floats around in the cell's main compartment, called the cytoplasm. Super simple, super efficient. And then you have the other team, the eukaryotes. And yeah, that's us. That's plants, fungi, animals, our whole crew. Our system is way more organized. Our DNA is divided up into multiple rod-shaped chromosomes, and it's all tucked away safely inside a special vault called the nucleus. So let's just lay it all out side by side. The biggest difference, the one that really defines the 2 groups, is the nucleus. Eukaryotes have one, prokaryotes don't. And that leads directly to the next big difference in how the DNA is shaped. That single circular loop in prokaryotes versus the multiple linear chromosomes we have. But you know, having that super organized nucleus, well, it creates a mind-boggling engineering problem for eukaryotes. How in the world do you fit a gigantic amount of information into a ridiculously tiny space? I mean, really think about this for a second. If you took the DNA from just one of your cells and stretched it all the way out, it would be about 6 feet long. And all of that has to be crammed into a nucleus, so small you can't even see it. I mean, how is that even possible? Well, the solution is just a masterpiece of biological engineering. The cell takes these incredibly long strands of DNA and wraps them tightly around these tiny protein spools called histones. It's kind of like winding a super long thread around a bunch of tiny beads. This is the first and most crucial step. And all of this coiling and then supercoiling of the DNA around these histones eventually builds up into that classic, dense X shape that we all recognize as a chromosome. It's an amazing packaging system that keeps the whole library organized and completely tangle-free, where every gene has its own precise address. Okay, we've seen how the blueprint is stored and how it's packaged. So for our final step, let's zoom in as far as we can possibly go and actually read the letters of the code itself. This is the nitty-gritty. So the most basic unit of DNA is this little guy right here, the nucleotide. It's made of 3 parts. You've got a phosphate and a sugar. Those form the backbone. But the real star of the show is this part, a nitrogenous base. This is what acts as a letter in the genetic alphabet. And here they are, the entire alphabet of life. Isn't that incredible? This whole unbelievably complex language is written with just 4 letters: adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine, or A, G, C, and T. Now notice they come in 2 different sizes. You've got the bigger ones, A and G, and the smaller ones, C and T. And that size difference turns out to be absolutely crucial. Because this is the game-changing secret that Watson and Crick unlocked back in 1953. They figured out a simple but incredibly powerful rule. A big base always has to pair with a small one. Specifically, adenine always pairs with thymine, and cytosine always pairs with guanine. A with T, C with G. That's it. That's the key to everything. And it's these precise base pairing rules that create DNA's iconic, elegant shape, the double helix. It's just like a twisted ladder, right? The sugar-phosphate backbones make up the sides, and the A, T, and CG pairs, those are the rungs of the ladder. Oh, and one more cool detail. Notice how the two sides are anti-parallel? That's just a fancy way of saying they run in opposite directions, kind of like a two-way street. You know, when you step back and look at the whole picture, the biggest takeaway has to be the sheer universality of this system. From the four-letter alphabet to the proteins they build, the fundamental machinery of life is shared across every single organism we've ever discovered. It really is a common language spoken by every cell on Earth. And that kind of brings us to our final thought. An entire planet just teeming with endless, beautiful diversity, and it's all built from a simple four-letter code. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredible secrets are still hidden deep within that elegant double helix, just waiting for us to discover them?